Hello everyone, it's Game GT 911 here and
Papa Top 912.
and today we're going to be making pasta and meatballs.
That's right, folks. Tonight we are going to be making some homemade pasta and meatballs. And the pasta of choice for tonight is the Pappardelle pasta noodles. It's kind of like fettuccine or linguine, but it's much wider. So if you took like 3 or 4 fettuccine noodles and put them together, that's the width of it. And it's also pretty long. So when you cook it, it's gonna just kind of be this long, and we're gonna have all that sauce on it. And it's just gonna have all that sauce all around it. It's kind of hard to explain, but I like that texture and I like that look in the dish. Now, as far as the meatballs go, those are the homemade meatballs that we made in the
Rigatoni and meatballs dish.
So if you want to know how we made those, go back and check out the rigatoni and meatballs video, and you can see everything we put in those meatballs. And again, it's spaghetti. Spaghetti's not too overly complicated, but we are going to be making some homemade sauce from scratch. So you can see I got a can of tomato puree back there, and then a big can of tomato paste, because I don't really want this kind of like a very loose soupy sauce. It's going to be a sauce that's going to stick to the noodles and coat those meatballs. That's why I'm using the tomato paste right there to kind of thicken it up, and then I'll add water as needed to loosen it up. And then as far as other ingredients, you can see we have 1 medium and 1 small Vidalia sweet onion. You could just use 1 large, but that's what I had on hand. And then I got about 3 of the sweet mini peppers. And then I also have a poblano pepper up there. Like I told you before in other videos, I like the poblano over just the green bell pepper because it has a little bit of heat to it, but not enough to make a difference. And then I got 2 large garlics, and those come from those elephant garlic cloves I like to get from the store. I just like those big garlic cloves like that. And then right there behind all of that is some fresh Italian parsley, and we're going to put some of that in the dish, but we're also going to use that for garnish. And then we have a block of Parmesan cheese, and we're going to use that for garnish as well. We're going to just shave that down and sprinkle it on top of the dish once it's been plated. And then as far as the seasonings go, from, I guess it's left to right, for me at least. I don't know what it's going to look like for y'all, but we got bay leaves, rosemary, thyme, some celery, oregano, crushed red pepper flakes, marjoram, tarragon, parsley, and basil. So those are going to be the ingredients that we're going to put in there to make this dish up. And one other ingredient that's not over here that we are going to use is going to be some sugar, because we use that sugar to take the bite off of the tomato. But we won't know how much of that we have to put in there until we actually get it going and then taste it. But normally I end up having to put about 1/4 cup or so of sugar in them to make it where you want it. We kind of like just a slightly sweet. We don't like a bitter tomato sauce, so we like a little slightly sweet sauce. So we'll add enough sugar in there to get it to our taste. And also, forgot to say it, but you can see them in the background, some fresh ground black pepper and some fresh ground salt. So those are going to be the ingredients. We're going to go ahead now, chop up the vegetables, and then we'll move over to the stove, get this thing popping, and have us a meal here together. This one's going to take more like 45 minutes to an hour, because you're going to cook the meatballs, you're going to make the sauce, and then you're going to let those two kind of blend together for a little while. Then we'll make the noodles, and then we'll just toss it all together. So it's not exactly a 30-minute meal, but it's still a quick, easy one that you can do. So we're going to go ahead and start chopping up these vegetables, and we'll see you guys back. All right, guys, welcome back. So as you can see, we got the vegetables all cut up now. Just a good medium chop on them, not too fine, but not too rustic. We got all of that chopped up, and then if you saw in the video, I just kind of re-rolled those meatballs, give them their shape back, because they were sitting in the refrigerator as I let them defrost, and they kind of lost their shape. So I just rolled them up a little bit to give them their shape back a little bit. So now we're going to move on over here to the stove here, and see, I got my pot heating up now. We'll get this camera straight. go ahead and dump in some of that EVOO in here. You can see it's already started smoking right there. I got that pan hot. I'm just gonna give that just a quick second. Let that olive oil heat up. All right, you see it's nice and smoky. So go ahead and drop in some of these meatballs. Gonna have to cook them in batches. Now I'm gonna cook these off. I'm gonna keep my oil a little bit low because I don't want it to burn, because I'm gonna use these same drippings to render down my vegetables with. So I want to make sure that I keep it, at a decent heat so that it cooks and fries them, but I don't want it to be so hot that the oil starts to burn. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this, and I'm gonna cook them up in 2 batches, and then we will be back. So what I like to do to find out if my meatballs are ready to turn, I just shake the pan, and the ones that are ready, they're gonna release on their own. Because once that meat caramelizes, it'll release from the pan. If you try to move it too fast, you're gonna rip your meatball. All right, so got the meatballs off. They're done. And right into this pan, gonna dump in all of the vegetables. And I'm really just trying to sweat these down. So they're done deglazed my pan. Now we'll just sweat these down a little bit. We don't want them to turn brown, we just want them to start getting clear and translucent. All right, so you can see these vegetables are starting to get translucent now. They're not really sauteing. The brown you see on them, that's just from the deglazing of the pan. But that's about where I want them there. Just want them to get limp and start to breaking down and releasing those natural sugars. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn my fire down a little bit and put my tomatoes in. See, that's very viscous. It'll loosen up a little bit when it gets warm, but I do have some water here in a cup, so I can thin it out as need be. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and put my seasonings in here. Fresh ground black pepper. Some salt. I can go a little more on my salt because I didn't use any chicken stock or anything. Here's the thyme. And I'm pretty much just sprinkling it to get a good coating across the top. Rosemary. And all these ingredients are dry. So you got to get them in the dish early and then let them cook so they can kind of release their flavors and soften up. Here's the celery. And then on the other side, that's my oregano. I go a little heavy on my oregano. Red pepper, crushed red pepper, not quite as heavy. Marjoram, a little bit of that across the top. Basil. Go a little heavy on the basil. And y'all already know your boy going heavy on the tarragon. I like that sweet aromatic flavor that tarragon puts in the dish. And then just a little bit of parsley, because we already got some parsley in there. All right. Also know that I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some sugar in there. I'm gonna call that about 1/4 of a cup. All right, so now we're gonna mix all these ingredients in. We're gonna do a little slight taste test just to see if we're even close on the balance. Taste that. And that's super bitter still, so put about that same amount of sugar in there again. And you just season this to your taste, because you know, if you don't like a sweet sauce, you might like it a little bitter. Just use those ingredients and just blend it out to how you like it. Give me a little taste again. All right. Let that rock for a minute. Put a little bit of water. It's about 1/2 cup of water, just to thin it out a little bit while it cooks. It's a little too viscous for me, as far as now. I want it about that thick when I'm done. Try this again. All right. A little fresh. A little more salt in here. That's better. I can still taste the can in the tomato, but I'm just going to go ahead and let this cook for a little while. Let some of those flavors blend together before I add anything else to it. You know, you've heard me say it before. You can always add to, but it's very hard to take out. So I'm just going to shove these meatballs down in here. Let them soak up that flavor and give off their flavors. I'm just going to let this cook for about, say, 20 to 30 minutes. Then I'll put my noodles on. And all that juice that's left in there on that plate, pour that in there. That's flavor. All right, so I'm gonna just turn my fire up a little bit till I get it to bubbling. You can see it starting to rise. You're about to see a bubble come up in there. Right in there, you can see it rising. So, boom. I know it's hot now. I'll turn my temperature back down. I'm just gonna let this thing simmer. I'm going to go ahead and put a little more water in it. All right, we'll be back in about 30 minutes. All right, guys, so had this sauce going for 30 minutes, and the flavors blended in well. I did add some more tarragon and some more sugar and salt to it. And then last thing I did was added just a little bit of accent to help blend the salt and pepper together a little bit more. I didn't want to keep adding more seasoning, so I just added that together. See, the meatballs are nice and coated, and you can see it's a very hearty sauce. It's like it's gonna stick to the noodles well. You can see my big pot over here next to me. I got my noodles going, and those will be ready in about 5 more minutes, and then we'll plate it up and show you what it looks like. All right, guys, my noodles are just done cooking here, and I'm gonna just take them out. I had them cooking in the strainer so I could easily get the water off, and we're just gonna pour those noodles right into the pan. Had a couple try to get away there. Oops.
Then no, there, can I rinse it off and taste it?
So
Yes.
now, I'm just gonna fold these noodles into the sauce. Kind of out of focus there. Let y'all see what this is looking like. Just folding those noodles into the sauce now. And they're getting nice and coated. It's like I told you they were, because I made that sauce really thick so it could coat those noodles and stick to it well. So I'm going to go ahead and finish kind of blending this up, and then I'll plate it. I'll show you what it looks like in final post. All right, guys, one thing I did forget to tell you was I forgot that I didn't put the bay leaves in when I was doing the original instruction, but as soon as I turned the camera off, I did put the bay leaves in there as well. I put about 6 or 7 whole bay leaves. They're just in the dish. I leave them in there. If you get one served up on your plate, you just push it to the side and keep it pushing. So now I'm going to go over and plate this up and show you what the final product looks like. All right, folks, welcome back. We have now plated up this dish. You can see there, still steaming. See how that tomato sauce just stuck all over those pasta noodles and coated those meatballs up so nicely. Now I'm going to go over here and show you how we spice this thing up. One last touch before we eat it. I'm going to let my assistant show y'all what to do.
So all we do is just grate on this Parmesan cheese and let each person grate it on by themselves, so to be able to grate on the exact amount that they want. And I like my cheesy.
All right. And then we just take a little sprig of fresh chopped parsley, drizzle it on top. And that is our homemade spaghetti and meatballs. It's actually not spaghetti, but y'all get our point. So give us a shot. Let us know what you think. And I'm going to let our trusty assistant do the taste test right now.
This is just my plate. So I'm going to get a meatball, some noodles.
You better blow it. That's 2 thumbs up, people. 2 thumbs up from my militant midget. So this is Papa Top 912 and
Game TT 911.
we are signing off.
Bye.